let's move on. So in the body of our presentation, last week, we learned how to strategize. We learned how to organize the body of the presentation. So we break down our big topic into 3 smaller topics. So in this case, my topic was company introduction, and I made it into 3 smaller topics: background, strategy, product lineup. Okay, that was my body. We learned last week as well that we have this open door, closed door technique. When you introduce a subtopic, you want to open the door. I'd like to start by discussing our strategy. Now I'll move on to our history. I'll end by looking at blah, blah, blah. And we can close topics. That's all I have to say about our strategy. I think that's everything on our history. That's everything I have to say on our blah, 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 blah. So we use this open door, closed door technique. That was our technique from last week. Well, how do we make our contents more interesting? We have 3 ways. Use more than 3, but 3 today. Use your language, use your voice, use numbers. Language. One simple technique to make your presentation more impactful is to use cleft sentences. Cleft sentences are sentences that delay. I don't know if delay is the right word. They move the main idea to the end of the sentence, and it creates a little bit of drama, a little bit of tension. So we can say, the key thing I'd like to highlight today is where we're going to move our office to. The key thing I'd like to highlight today is who is going to run this project. So I use question statements and I pause. The key thing I'd like to highlight today is who is going to run this project. So I pause and then I use my question word. The first thing we need to do is to improve our product. So again, I pause, but I'm using these cleft sentences. Our product needs improvement. That's a normal sentence. Our product needs improvement. But if I change it to the end, the first thing we need to do is to improve the product. These are really nice techniques we can do to add a little emphasis, add a little drama. One area I'd really like to highlight is our North America sales. So I just use a noun and I pause. So just 3 simple structures, 3 simple sentences you can use with question statements, with verbs and with nouns, just to really add some drama to your presentation. And don't confuse the word drama with TV drama, Netflix drama. Drama is good. Drama means that people are going to pay attention. Managed drama is a good part of a presentation. I don't mean drama in a gossip way or in a bad way. I mean it in a way that creates tension and keeps focus on you. So that's 3 ways we can use our language. What about using our voice? You already saw before I paused. I like to pause sometimes. Pausing, meaning stopping, is a really powerful technique that a lot of native English speakers do naturally, and native French speakers, native Japanese speakers. It doesn't matter your language. We have natural ways we can pause to bring emphasis into what we want to say. So pausing sometimes for effect can be powerful. So when do we pause, or when do we add volume to our words? Well, I typically add volume and I stretch adjectives, interesting adjectives, not boring adjectives. Comparatives. So comparatives are things like better, faster, taller, more expensive. Superlatives: best, worst, most expensive. Trend words: increase, decrease. Negatives: not. And that's really important. If you have a negative, always emphasize it. And question words: who. So when I say these words, I don't just raise my voice. I stretch the word out as well. Let's look at an example. The key thing I'd like to highlight today is what we really need to do to be the best in our industry, to be the best in our industry. Okay. That's a good sentence, but it's delivered in not a good way. So which words would we emphasize? Well, key, and that's an interesting adjective. What? That's a question word. Power. We really need to do first to be the best. So best is a superlative. First is describing the position. It's the ranking. So I would probably emphasize like this, but I wouldn't say the key thing. I would say the key thing. So I stretch the word out a little bit. The key thing I'd like to highlight today is what we really need to do first to be the best in our industry. Look at the way I delivered that. It's totally different. The key thing I'd like to highlight today is what we really need to do first to be the best in our industry. That's how many non-native English speakers are giving a presentation, just reading a sentence word by word. If you want to go to the next level, you need to think about how to use your voice to emphasize. The key thing I'd like to highlight today, pause, is what we really need to do to be first. Sorry, we really need to do first to be the best in our industry. Look at this one. See if you can guess which words we should emphasize. The first thing we need to do is to look at the increasing prices of our raw materials. We're seeing 40% increases year over year. Okay, so which ones? First, yeah, that's an exciting word. The first thing we need to do. Increasing, that's a trend word. Oh God, increasing prices. Damn, that's a trend word. Emphasize. 40%. Numbers, I always emphasize too. So I didn't write it here, but I almost always emphasize numbers. So let's have a look, probably something like that. The first thing we need to do is to look at the increasing prices of our raw materials. We're seeing 40% increases year over year. I'm doing it a little bit more dramatically, but when you practice it at that more dramatic level, when you do it for real, it will come down to a very natural level. And that's one of the big challenges. If English is not your native language, how you communicate is just as important in business situations as what you say. So that's how I deliver this sentence. One area I'd really like to highlight is our performance in different regions. Okay, we are better in Asia Pacific, but we're not doing well in North America. Okay, so maybe something like that. One area I'd really like to highlight is our performance in different regions. The difference not so exciting. I'm going to keep that flat. We are better in APAC, but we are not doing well in North America. So emphasize those negatives. All right, using numbers. We'll keep this one short, but whenever I have a big number, just like at the start of this presentation or the start of this webinar, I should say, I try to make big numbers more understandable. So in my introduction, I used two techniques. I made a time technique. I connected it to the length of my presentation, or I connected it to the audience. When you're giving bigger numbers in your presentation, I generally try to make it something that people can easily imagine. And I use the phrase or to put it another way, or to give this more context. So I might say this: 55,000 people, or the capacity of Tokyo Dome, bought our product yesterday. 55,000 people, or to put it another way, the capacity of Tokyo Dome bought our product yesterday. 55,000 people, or to give this more context, the capacity of Tokyo Dome bought our product yesterday. So I say the number, 55,000 people, and then I use or to put it another way, or to give this more context, and I say something that my audience can understand. Now, if your audience are American, don't use Tokyo Dome as your example, right? Use, I don't know, times, what is it? Oh, God. Yankees Stadium, something like that. So you need to make your comparisons related to the knowledge of the audience. So here are some examples. 5 million yen, or to put it another way, the price of a new Toyota. 13 million people, or to give this more context, the population of central Tokyo. Remember, we're not talking about the population of Tokyo. We're just trying to help people understand the size. So if I said 13 million people, or to give this more context, the population of central Tokyo bought our product last year, that really helps people understand, because they can understand Tokyo. Okay, buying the product, great. 100 million people, maybe I want to be negative. 100 million people, yeah, or less than the population of Japan had a problem last year. So try to make things easily identifiable with something visual, something graphic that people can understand a little more easily. Other ways to use numbers are just to repeat the number twice. So if I ever have a percentage, learn these 4 different ways: 1/4, 1/2, 3/5, 4/6. So what is that? 25%, 50%, 60%, 67%, 1 in 4, 1 in 2, 3 in 5, 4 in 6, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 2, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 6. I always just repeat these numbers twice. So if I said 1/4 of our customers had a problem last year, I would say 1/4, or 1 in 4 of our customers had a problem last year. So emphasizing these numbers, I just repeat the number a second time, but I use a different technique. So you have 4 techniques, just use 2 of them and just repeat them in a way that makes sense to the presentation. All right, so we looked at 3 different techniques: using your language, using your voice, and using numbers. All right, it's time for another quiz. Here we go.